Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the GSL Code A. This is the round of 48, or the first round of the tournament. So these are the danger days, as Wolf likes to call them, Wolfadoa. And that means that these are the days where if you are eliminated from this match, you are eliminated from Code A altogether, and you have to go back down to Code B to, to play against a lot of players in a very difficult tournament in order to advance back into Code A. But we're going to get started with game number 1 here. First of all, we have up here, or sorry, down here, I guess, at the right-hand side of the map, Belshire Beach. It is none other than Hope Torture. And Hope Torture is his nickname, but you might know him if you're an old fan as Into the Rainbow, or he goes by Rainbow in the GSL as well. Now his opponent at the other side of the map is an extremely strong Terran. He's been having some trouble lately though. It is none other than Startail's Bomber. And I'm really curious to see how this match goes. I got a lot to say about both these players. A little bit to say about both these players. First of all, so Bomber, he is just so strong when he wants to be. When he's on top of his game, he is one of the top 5 Terrans in the world by far. And here's the thing though, is he just hasn't been in that shape lately. He hasn't been in the best of shape. Thus, in the last couple of months, basically, he had this run. I think I mentioned this in the Up and Down match as well, or in the Ring of Legends, something along those lines. But he had a run where he was just doing super good, and no one could beat him. And then he went up against Bjorn in the Code S, I believe, and he just, he won the first 2 games, and he looked completely unstoppable. He looked to be on another level altogether, and then he fell apart. And no one knows why he fell apart, but he just was really bad the last 3 games basically. And Bjorn came back and owned him, and he was not the same Bomber those last 3 games. And you have to wonder if he's maybe a player who is affected by nerves or something. I don't know, but he hasn't been playing that well since then. And we went down to the Up and Down matches and did horribly in his Up and Down match groups as well. So here he is back in Code A. Very interesting. I mean, he is a Code A winner. He actually won Code A a few seasons ago, beat MVP in the finals as well. So anyway, basically I think this match is going to come down to what kind of a game Bomber brings out. Bomber is going to go ahead and evacuate that SCV. Is it going to get away? Yes, it's going to get away. This SCV is a little bit faster than Marines. But he did get in there. He did see the gas, and actually, did he? He must have seen it, right? Yeah, he did see that extra barracks as well, so he knows that. And he saw the factory. Sorry, not extra barracks. He saw the barracks. He saw the factory, so he knows exactly what's going on. And on the other hand, though, Hope Torture doesn't really know much about what's going on in Bomber's base at all. He hasn't even sent out a scout at all. That is really interesting. He actually is going to get Banshees, it looks like. Now, real quick, I want to say what I was going to say about Hope Torture. Now, he is a really old school player. He was a top player in Brood War in like 2001 or something like that, and very early on. Hasn't really shown much since then, except in the first couple seasons of GSL, he was very strong. And then the game kind of caught up to his skill level, and people were able to surpass him very easily. Now, we haven't seen much from him in a long time. That's why I was going to say it's hard to really know how he's playing right now, because we haven't seen him in a tournament game in a long time. Nice little blockade there is going to stop that Hellion from getting in there, and we have a... Okay, never mind. I thought there was 2 starports for a second, so I misclicked. But it's a starport and a command center, so it looks like we might have a Bomber going for Banshees as well. The first Banshee is going to be starting. There it is. It's more than halfway done for Hope Torture. And he's following up with a command center of his own. He's actually placing it here at his expansion. So even though it's later, he's not going to have to float it over. So it's going to probably come up mining around the same time, maybe a little bit later than Bomber's. Bomber's starting off with a Viking straight away. And there is no cloak from Hope Torture. So this Banshee is going to get completely shut down. And is basically not going to do anything at all The Viking is rallied over here to where these Marines are. But the Banshee's... Where is the Banshee, actually? Where'd it go? I lost track of the Banshee. Maybe it cloaked. Just kidding. Oh, there it is. Okay. Banshee's going in here. And passing across the frozen river of Belshire Beach. And it's going to go right in the main here. But again, there's a Viking already there. He's just going to try and get as many kills as possible. No, running actually is not the best thing to do in that situation. Because he's... Well, actually, unless Bomber just decides not to chase it. I'm not sure why he decided not to chase that with his Viking. He could have killed that Banshee pretty easily, but he's instead sending his Viking across the map to do some scouting, I suppose. Well, I guess that turned out okay for Hope Torture after all. He's going to be able to get his Banshee back to his main base. Might take him more shots from that Viking. Nope, not going to. Anyway, so I don't know what shape Hope Torture is in right now is the point, I guess, that I'm trying to make. Because we haven't seen him play in a long time. The last time he won a tournament game, though, was in March, GSTL March. He won some games. He actually looked pretty good in those games in the GSTL, but he hasn't won anything since then. It's just 8 losses on his record, and you know his decline out of Code S, out of the up and down matches, out of Code A, just a series of losses all in a row. So a very went into a nosedive there. So we're going to see if he's picked it up at all, though, because he did get into Code A, and it's extremely difficult to qualify. So curious to see what's going on here. You know, we kind of have maybe a very good player at the bottom of his game in Bomber versus a not so good player at the top of his game in Hope Torture. So they might be on an even level right now, actually, and we do see them coming out about even so far in this game. Bomber, of course, having some trouble against Terrans lately, too. He had a really good TBT. I mean, he took out MVP 4-2 in the Code A season that he won. But lately he's been struggling against other Terrans. In fact, just recently at MLG, he was at the MLG in Providence, and he actually he was seeded because he'd been to a couple MLGs before, but he just lost his first 2 matches and never won a single match in MLG. He only won 1 game against Puma, but he lost to Puma, and he lost to MVP as well. So no shame in those losses, though. Those are 2 of the best Terrans in the world. So, but still, I was not able to bust that out against those players, and he's actually on a bit of a losing streak in Korea against Terrans as well. You know, recently he's been playing some Terrans in the up and down matches and what have you. In Code S this season, he did lose to Gumiho. Last season, he lost to MVP. So, just not doing the best against Terrans, basically, right now. Now, we do have both players basically just powering up, just waiting to get all their upgrades and stuff before they do anything. Bomber is getting to have Siege Tank attack a little bit earlier, but he's not pushing out. Actually, it would have been a good time for him to push out because he has Siege Tech, and he's got a lot more units, so it would have been a nice little timing. Here's a drop coming in from Hope Torture, though. Is Rainbow going to be able to do any damage here? And Bomber does not see this drop. I think he saw it, though. Oh, no. But Bomber A-moved his Medivacs in first, but there we go. It does fall them back. And is that gonna... Oh, the Medivac goes down full of Marines. That was not a very good flight for those Marines. And now Bomber... I'm curious why he's not... Well, I guess he wants to be really safe about it and not just attack. But I would expect him to at least build a 3rd command center at some point before too long. He's just macroing up, though, and I mean, here's the thing. Hope Torture, he's a very smart player, but, you know, the mechanics of a lot of these older players just are not up to snuff. And so we see that Hope Torture is just basically not macroing as well as Bomber. All it's basically coming down to, they're not attacking really that much. And so, these Marines are actually dancing around over here. They might need to get back. You should pin a Viking over there or something and get those Marines to the front, because if he's caught in a Marine tank battle with only half of his Marines involved in the battle, he's just going to lose it, period. And there he does bring his Marines back from that back location. Nope, still just looking just in case of drops. And, you know, it's a little bit smart. It's smart to worry about drops, but I'm a little bit worried about him engaging a battle when he only has half of his forces here, and it looks like, Bomber is actually going to siege up on the low ground here, And he does load up a couple medevacs with those Marines, but he's just going to drop them out again, not going to be able to do anything about it. So I take back all my criticism of Hope Torch for putting these Marines over here. I wasn't criticizing it too much, but I was just a little bit worried about him engaging in a big battle. He does have some tanks though, and of course, if you have your siege tanks in position, you're defending, then you can do pretty well there. Hope Torture actually getting a third down here at the bottom left. And so he's looking in good shape, but here comes the huge stim for Bomber with a lot of Marines, and Hope Torture barely has any Marines there. And his tanks are just going to get wiped out. Bomber needs to target them down. He does indeed, and that is what I was talking about. More than half of his Marines were not in that battle because he had some Marines over here, and he had some Marines over here by the tower. And Bomber just knew exactly what was going on, stimmed in and wiped out everything, and so the siege tank count is reset for Rainbow. He's down to 1 tank. Bomber up to 8 siege tanks, and he's still producing yet more. So Bomber's just ahead in everything right now, starting to better upgrades. He's got more units. The only thing he doesn't have is that Rainbow has the 3rd base, so his income is going to be a little bit higher than Bomber's right now. A few more SCVs as well. So Hope Torture in very good shape there. And here comes Bomber coming in for possibly another attack though. Hope Torture sieging up. Oh, some Marines dying there. Oh, that actually is within range. That tank is just going to go down very quickly, and Bomber's going to be forced to fall back. Actually, probably could have retained that position. These siege tanks would have had to get closer and get within range of him. I'm surprised neither player making Vikings at this point, actually. Since, well, I mean, it is Marine tank, and so the vision advantage is going to be huge. If you can get vision of your opponent's tanks before they get vision of you, you can get the first volley in, and that can be just absolutely huge. Of course, if you do see someone sieging up, you can scan them, and there's a Viking out for Hope Torture. Very smart, and it might get picked off by Marines if it gets too far out ahead though. He's just kind of posturing around. Where did his tanks go? He set up his tanks down here at this bottom location. A little bit dangerous if Bomber comes in here, but again, this 3rd is the vulnerable spot. This is the spot where Bomber is going to want to attack, so it's smart for him to protect that position even more. But again, just looking at the siege tank out, 10 siege tanks to actually, Bomber kind of stopped making siege tanks. Hold that thought, he stims in with a lot of Marines. He does have the 1-1 upgrades on his Marines, but the Hope Torture's tanks are too much, and both players trading blows. Scans going off so each of them can see each other's tanks, and things coming out a little bit in Rainbow's favor, actually. He was behind in supply, and now they've evened up in supply, so that's going to be good. Now, here's the thing. I don't know why Bomber didn't wait for 2-2 to make that attack, because it's about to finish right now, and that would have changed things. These siege tanks are unsieging right now. Go ahead and push in here, and going to meet some fire. Hope Torture pushing back with some of his Marines, but he is just out of position right now. All of his Marines coming down from the north, but they're going to miss out. Oh, his siege tanks might be out of position. No, the Marines coming up from the top, and all of Bomber's siege tanks survive except the one. And that's going to be enough to put out enough firepower to slaughter those Marines from Hope Torture coming in from the bottom. This is a bad position for Hope Torture in general. He's building another command center down here to try and keep up economically with Bomber, but things are not looking good. Bomber mining a little bit more up here. He's got his 3rd base up and running. Actually, they both have their 3rds up and running right now, but things are just... Bomber says has a tactical advantage right here. Torture trying to siege up on the top here. Here's the thing, he's in danger of losing stuff down here at this base because he doesn't have control of any of the entrances to that base. Bomber sieging up his tanks right here outside of the main. And, oh, he's going to go in here and drop. Oh, that's dangerous because his Marines can pick that medevac out of the sky very quickly. Very tenuous situation for Hope Torture. He's got to be so careful. He's trying to creep in here with his siege tanks. And, oh, nice. Using the lack of vision of Bomber to take him out and push him back a little bit farther there. Nicely done. He's going to try and do it again. Oh, he needs to be careful. He's in range of that siege tank fire. The medevac can spot it. Scan goes down for, well, actually no, just the medevac here spotting. So he's able to get some pot shots on there. The Kings do survive though. Just trading blows back and forth. And yeah, Bomber just basically macroing a little bit better at this point. Has a little bit more supply and just a much better position. Bomber now taking a 4th base over here, and that is going to be the kicker. He's going to be able to put out a lot more units with that extra base. One red and one blue. Hanging out in the middle of the air. Uncontested, here he comes in, stimming some Marines down. He's going to try and pick off these tanks before they can pick his Marines off. He does get 3 tanks, and he's going to get one more. He actually moves his tanks into position, so they continue the shelling and kill off those tanks as well. Hope Torture is up against the ropes here. He needs to take control of this situation right now. He's moving in with some of his siege tanks, trying to take control, and he is going to kill some of Bomber's tanks. In the meantime, though, Bomber with a ton of Marines down here at the bottom here has killed off a lot of SCVs. He's killing off Marines, and if he doesn't do something soon, he's going to lose both those orbital to the rapid firing of those +3 weapons Marines. And it looks like Bomber is going to be forced back a little bit, though, down to this bottom corner. Doesn't want to get pegged in by siege tanks, but he can just lift up and get out of there. He can save all those Marines. Yes, don't do it. Oh no, Bomber flies. Oh! Loses the medevacs with almost full Marines inside 2 of them. And this is looking a little bit bad for Bomber, actually. He's been forced back and losing a lot of forces. Bomber, of course, still macroing up very well in the background. Still has the advantage here in supply. Hope Torture not quite ahead enough to capitalize, but unless Bomber walks all of his Marines into the siege tank fire, but there's actually not enough buffer units. The Marines were too far behind, and Hope Torture overextends and loses just as much as he had just gained. So, unfortunately there. Now, here we have Bomber at 3-3 now for his bio, by the way. 3-3 upgrades, +3 weapons is on the way for Hope Torture, but he still only has +1 armor. He's only been going off the 1 engineering bay for a while, I guess. No, he has the 2 engineering bays, but he hasn't, I guess, been able to afford the extra upgrades. +2 armor is almost completed, but he's behind in those upgrades. So that's not good at all. It looks like Hope Torture's hoping that he can defend this base a little bit easier, and is going to fly that extra command center over there instead. Bomber, again, just macroing like a beast. Just has so much more supply. Even though they were trading earlier back and forth and it was pretty much even, Bomber's just been able to get so much more supply. And of course, this is partly why, because he's had this 4th base up for a while now, and he's been able to get a lot of money income from that. Whereas Rainbow had this command center not really doing anything. Here comes a little attack from Bomber trying to take out this base, and again, Hope Torture's tanks are naked, and Bomber's going to take advantage of that fact. He pops the orbital, and that base goes down very quickly, and wow, that is just horrible for Rainbow, into the Rainbow. Hope Torture, he is losing now very, very badly. This game is just basically slipping from his grasp. I don't think he even knows how behind he is right now. 183 supply to 134, 50 supply difference. Tons of Marines barreling down in here. Hope Torture seizes up his tanks, but does he have enough? He does not have enough to stop those Marines from closing in on those tanks, and that is pretty much going to seal the game for Bomber at this point. He doesn't want to press in and overextend and lose anything this time. Instead, he's just going to go ahead and take a 5th base, continue macroing up, and then attack again probably when he's about maxed out. And that will be the end of the game. Hope Torture is desperately trying over here to set up another siege line. He wants to retake this expansion at some point. Right now, this is pretty much his only mining base. He's mined out in his natural almost. He's definitely mined out in his main. Even the gas, one of the gases is down. The other one's going to go down very soon. So Hope Torture is really in a bad position here. And, you know, he's having a hard time. He's actually has a lot of gas in the bank, but he's just having a hard time keeping up with the mineral count of making him able to afford units. Here's a little attack force by Bomber coming down here. This could be bad, but Hope Torture again just doesn't have the units to buffer those tanks. Bomber not really splitting his Marines very well at all, but it doesn't even matter. He has so much stuff he can just A-move in here, but no, attacking the SCVs instead, and so the tanks are able to get off some more firepower against those Marines and kill them off. +3 tank weapons is being upgraded right now, and looks like we have a little bit of a drop back here, forcing those SCVs off. They cannot pursue though because the planetary is going to try and fly up here into the main. Will be met with turrets, which are soon to have the high-sec auto track. Down very quickly, goes down in a bad way, and not in the way that drops these castles. This drops are going down. That's what the definition of a drop is, I guess. And oh no, Hope Torture's gonna lose another orbital. It's just gonna pop. There's the GG coming from Hope Torture. Bomber takes game number 1. Alright, so that's going to do it for game number 1. Bomber's up a game. We're going to get started with game number 2 here in just a moment. And again, you know, Hope Torture just basically getting outplayed in that game. Just doesn't have the same mechanics that Bomber does, basically. There was no real major tactical error for Hope Torture. He did at the beginning of the game. He got a little bit behind because he went for the Banshees, and Bomber went for an early Viking, and it shut down the Banshee completely. He didn't get a single kill with that Banshee.